Hey everybody, it's Kathy. Today I want to talk about a comparison of the Clarisonic and the Olay Pro X brush. Sorry, let me grab my box. It's funny because I've been meaning to do this for a few days now, and I've been kind of busy with work and kids, and we had snow again, so kids are off school today, and I did go into work for a few hours. And I wanted to do this videotape there because I wanted to compare this to what I use in my salon, because I have a spinning brush that I use that's different from the other two. But I didn't have time today, so now I'm back home again, and the kids are here watching me, which is making me very uncomfortable. But anyway, so I want to very quickly kind of give my input about these. Gina did a really good review today on her channel, and so I definitely recommend that you watch it. And I was kind of surprised by her review because her review is kind of opposite what mine is. When I compared this one, the Olay, to the Clarisonic, I feel like this one is quite a bit I feel it more. In fact, a friend of mine who has the Clarisonic, and she has the original, not the Mia, she wants to go out and buy this one now because we both did the comparison, and she liked this one better, the Pro X one better, because she felt like it was stronger, and she likes to really feel it. You know, the difference between the two, and Gina gives a really good, full explanation of all of this, and since I am on limited time, I'm not going to give all those details. You can watch hers. This one, I'll turn it on. This one actually, see if I can get the bristles actually spin, and there's low and high. The Clarisonic doesn't spin, it vibrates, and only the center row of brushes vibrate. So they work differently. This one works more like the one I use at work. The one I use at work also spins, and I can control how fast or slow it spins. The difference, though, is the one I have at work, the bristles, let me show you these from the side. The bristles are very short on this, which means you get a much firmer exfoliation. The one I use at work, the bristles are about 3 times as long, so they're much laxer. They're a lot softer on your face. They have a lot more give. And in fact, when I was originally trained in school, we were always taught that when the brush is against the skin, there should be no bend in the brush, which means very little pressure, because it takes very little pressure to see any bend. With this one, it takes quite a bit more pressure because the bristles are so short. Excuse me. So basically, I think the Clarisonic, you don't really feel it. I didn't feel it doing much. Now, Gina was just the opposite. She felt like the Clarisonic was more intense than the Olay one. I kind of thought that was odd because I felt just the opposite. So did my friend. So, you know, everybody's different. But with this one, I feel like you have to be sure not to press too hard, and it kind of tickles, and you don't need to stay over one spot very long. You know, just kind of do a quick once over. Having said all that, I'm not going to be very popular with this, but I really believe that all of these physical cleansing systems are a bit much for mature skin. And this is what I mean. This channel is really supposed to be geared toward everybody's skin, but with an emphasis on mature skin. Here's the deal. We have been a society in recent years we are crazed with exfoliating. We do all this at-home microdermabrasion. We've got all these scrubs. Everybody's really kind of gone bonkers with it. And there's different schools of thought. There are a lot of dermatologists that believe that all this exfoliation is going to help keep the skin younger. However, there are a lot of studies, and there's the other side of the coin, the belief by a lot of other dermatologists that excess exfoliation is actually speeding up the aging process. It's aging the skin. And let me give you a brief explanation of how that works. Let me look at my time. Where's my time? Oh, okay, I'm all right. Okay, so we've got 2 layers of the skin. We've got the dermis and the epidermis. That's what we're concerned with right here and now. There's more to it that's overly simplified. But we know that as we age, the epidermis gets thicker and the dermis gets thinner. And it was believed that if we would thin out the epidermis, there'd be more nutrients to feed the dermis. And the dermis is what lies on top of the capillaries, and it's what gives us the kind of the thicker feeling, tighter skin. So they really believe that if we get rid of the excess epidermis, the dermis would have more nutrients, and it would then get thicker, which is what we want. We want a thicker dermis. We don't need the thicker epidermis. But what they have found with a lot of studies is that when you thin the epidermis, the skin naturally is going to try to build it back thick because it is compensating for the thinned dermis that we get with aging. So rather than thickening up that dermis, which is what we're hoping for, instead what we're ending up with is all the nutrients go toward the epidermis to replace and to re-thicken. So we actually end up further starving the dermis, okay? So that's the thinking on the school of thought that says that all this exfoliation is actually aging us. And you know, I don't know which is accurate. You have as many on one side as the other. My personal opinion, though, from what I've seen on countless skins that I work with, and even my own, I tend to sort of believe the school of thought that says all this excess exfoliation is a bit much. We know that when we really exfoliate the epidermis, we are taking away two very important things. One of them is the lipid barrier. And when we take the lipid barrier away, we also lose the other thing, which is our protective balance that keeps things out, which also it has to do with oxidants, the free radicals that are in the environment. When we strip it away, it's not able to fight that. So I think that our lipid barrier is really important, and I think that oxidants, or free radicals, I'm sorry, are a big part of aging. So I really do think we do too much exfoliation. And case in point, my own skin, when I started testing this, and I've only used it once a day because, like I said, I felt like it was pretty strong. I ended up with really red cheeks, and I ended up with a cold sore, which I don't know if I'll get in close. Cold sores are something we warn people who are prone to cold sores. We warn them whenever we do a chemical peel and microdermabrasion. Anything that traumatizes the skin, and yes, those things traumatize the skin, we warn people to at least have their medication on hand. Some people take different, I'm not going to name them, but different medications to prevent cold sores. And they have things that they use when they get one. The fact that I got one from just using this, that just shows you it's a lot more aggressive than maybe you would think, because it is very soft, you think, and you don't really think it's doing much, but being a trained professional, I did know that it was doing a lot. I knew that it was pretty aggressive, but the average person using it wouldn't think it was very aggressive. So my thoughts, go to Gina Bina Weena to get the full review. She gives really good comparison of the two and really good review, but I just want to talk about the excess exfoliation that this thing gives. I think it's a bit much, and I think if you're over the age of 40, you know, I know a lot of you are wanting to use this every day, twice a day. I would not use this twice a day. Once a day at the most, but honestly, I think once a week is enough. Honestly, you don't need that much exfoliation. Now, if you have really thick, oily skin, you can handle it a little bit more. But if you're the typical person over 45 whose skin is starting to get a little bit more dry, this is too much on a daily basis. You know, go ahead and use it once or twice a week, and that's it. So that's my recommendation. I wish I had more than 10 minutes to talk because I could explain things a little bit better. But remember, this is not, what I've said is not going to fit everybody. With a younger skin, you can do it more. However, if you have really acne-prone skin, I would also be cautious because it's going to stimulate the sebaceous glands, which could increase the amount of pimples that you get. So keep that in mind. If you just have blackheads, if you have those type of breakouts, you're perfectly okay using exfoliation every day. It's not going to bother you. But if you're older, please be careful with the excess exfoliation. As far as for the money, I think this Olay one is fine. I mean, it really does a decent job. If you don't want to go shell out the big bucks, that's just my kids, sorry. If you don't want to shell out the big bucks for the Clarisonic, this is definitely a good option. And the fact that you can replace the heads for $10, I think that's great. So I don't think y'all need this. I don't think it's, you know, a must-have. But if you really want to have one, go get the Olay one just once a week. So that's it. Sorry if I burst any bubbles, and go check out Gina Bina Weena. Thanks. Bye.